Welcome to the AAE Podcast, the new podcast for European actuaries designed to deliver in-depth insights on the latest trends and essential updates within the insurance industry.
Welcome to this new episode of the Actuarial Association of Europe. I'm Claudio Senatore, Vice Chair of the Data Science and Artificial Intelligence Working Group. And today I have the pleasure to introduce you our guest, that is Dr. Andrej Levin, Managing Director and Partner at the Boston Consulting Group, where he is the head of the BCGX in Europe. Welcome, Andrej, and thank you for your availability.
Claudio, thanks so much for having me. Really looking forward to the discussion today.
So, Andrej, when I proposed this project to the Actuarial Association of Europe board, I had really one single purpose project in mind. That was, and is still today, trimming down as much as possible, the surrounding noise and, the information overload, and to some extent, this abundance of, use cases, words around the artificial intelligence, and trying to focus on and showcasing the real benefits that the artificial intelligence should bring, and sooner I hope that will bring. The podcast itself is focused on the insurance and actuarial side, in the actuarial field. But I use the word benefit on purpose and not by chance, because in my opinion, you might have really different type of positive output from artificial intelligence. So you might have, as you say, economic modernization, you might have improvement of services or a new service thanks to artificial intelligence. And really, this really depends on the type of guest. So last time we had a guest from an insurance company, from CMP France. Today we have you from the consultancy, but we will have regulators, we will have consumer associations. So depending on the point of view, obviously you focus the attention on different things. So the question here I arrived to the question that is maybe in line with your concept of new seriousness. So the question is, if we trim down all this noise surrounding AI, and to be honest, in some cases it's not just trimming down, but it's really giving a clean cut. As at today, what it remains out of this noise about AI use cases and projects?
Yeah. So first of all, you're absolutely right. There's so much noise, so much hype around AI. So it's not easy to look at the substance. But now 3 years after big ChatGPT moment, and most of the companies rethought the AI strategy, it's more and more clear where it comes from. And it might not come from for pure use case after use case kind of hunting. So what we see, and I will, whatever I say, please take it with a bit of salt of grain, with all the humbleness. Consultants are often tend to say they know where things are going. Yeah. In this world, there is no best practice. There's no textbook. Nobody looks back on an AI strategy 10 years. And so this is how you do it. Yeah. So all I will say you and will share is a bit of things I see in the market at the moment going well versus not going well, but yet not clear if this is the succeeding model. Yeah? But what we see at the moment is that those companies who are using AI to increase the productivity of their organizations, and they focus not on general productivity, but they really focus on process changes and using AI, not throw new technology at all processes, but rethink the processes with a new AI world. This is where we at the moment see the most tangible and real money at scale coming from. So it is not just buying a Copilot license or throwing a chatbot at your organization or giving everybody license to ChatGPT or enterprise. It is a question of how do I change the process, rethink a process, and or I create more top line because I generate something where I create more productivity, or I create a cost advantage by making the same thing easier and simpler. Sometimes we have clients who are now paying external service providers quite a lot of money, and they now realize we can do it internally with AI much cheaper. Or this is also reality, is where can I reduce the team size? Where do I have a lot of manual work at the moment doing processes I can do with AI, and I can free up talent. Also, in realization as an external coming in many clients is I see today so many highly educated, well-trained industry experts wasting their time with very, very low productive stuff, as Excel spreadsheets movement, reading of long documents, etc. So also for most of my clients who are facing a war of talent, we are seeing that we are wasting quite some talent by using their talent not for the most productive activities of the week. Yeah. So long answer to a short question, but at the moment, I think if companies who are not focusing on use cases, but they're focusing really on how to create a structural process change.
So basically, you're saying that, I said today, with the advancement and the experience that we gained in the AI project, maybe we are going to find a sort of middle ground between this, tendency of swinging between an acritic techno-optimism and the sort of fear of technology, new advancement.
Yeah. This is very interesting, because I think at this stage, the tech skepticism, those who don't see the value of AI, they have more arguments at the moment. So we see quite some, especially some of the leaders, a lot of CFOs who are financing a lot of those investments. They are asking, where's my money? I see what I'm paying. I see the consultants I pay. I see the license cost I buy. I see all the infrastructure I build up. So I see all my costs very clearly, but they would ask, where is my return? Where is the money coming back? And at the moment, we have surveyed 60% of global leaders are quite unsatisfied with what they are returning. So there's an argument they have. However, and this is what we call the new seriousness, we now see probably Q2, Q3, 2024, it started to change, that more and more organizations are now have removed all the hype, has taken a more serious path about AI, and now they are seeing money coming. It's early stages, but I would recommend everyone at the moment to see if the strategy you're following and what your investments are doing, how do I get it to real money creation in the moment? So for example, if I take my friends in the automotive industry, in the very early stages of this trend, they started to experiment with some of the cool chatbots and some customer experience use cases. And they were flashy and they were cool to tell in the press, cool anecdotes. But now they are shifting towards reviewing their spend cube. So where do I spend resources which I can internalize using AI? They are taking processes like we have seen large OEMs taking the procurement process, a very manual, very text-heavy, very technical, complex process, and have rethought the whole process with AI and Gen AI. And now they are seeing the benefits of significant increased speed and significant improved negotiation results. And those kind of proven impacts at scale, they kill the skeptics. And they create, and this is what I liked about your comment, they create a new middle ground, a fact-based, value-focused thinking of AI. Yeah? Less hype, less kind of like robots will take over our life. It's more about how do I increase the speed, the agility of my organization? How can I make human and machine work together? But most over, how does the whole thing make money? How does it lead to EBIT? Now,
let me leverage your reference that you did to the concept of new seriousness, a concept that you introduced in one of your recent talk in December, if I'm not wrong. In the same talk, you said that in some cases, while you were presenting AI project to boards at the board level, So the chief information officer or chief technology officer, let's say, used to react, with a little bit of shock, because AI project, it is understandable, they are big project, they are investment intensive, resource intensive. In some cases, you don't even know, you are not even sure that you will monetize this investment. So this is, a sort of reaction, is an understandable reaction. So somehow you still see this type of reaction, and if not, do you observe more often, this type of reaction, or a sort of thaumaturgic effect of the AI? So I like to use the concept of AI SIBO effect. So that you just naming the AI, there are people that are already coming down. No, so do you still see this reaction, this shock reaction from CIO, CTO, or not? And in case you still see this type of reaction, do you see more often this type of reaction, or the thaumaturgic effect of the AI, if you see this effect?
So, obviously, there's all types of maturity. So there's a lot of organizations which are still, I would say, a bit naive. So they're going through the first big experiment around AI, and they are very romantic about the vision, and they very idealistic about what they can do, and they're very optimistic, usually very optimistic. And then there's the other cohort of individuals who've been through very painful digitalization journeys, already kind of been heavily struggling to deliver money, and now they think, oh, now AI is just a new name of the game, but it's the same thing. So there's the pessimist, and both have their right to play, and both have their arguments. But what we at the moment see is that a lot of the CAIOs, or the chief digital officers who own that, whatever they are pessimistic, optimistic about, the big challenge is, do they have friends in the organization? Let me sink that in. We see today, if I go into boards and we talk about AI, it's like a physical reaction in the board. Everybody turns to the tech community. Everybody turns to them. Everybody looks at them and look, AI is the topic of the tech community. And the tech community will do everything possible they can do, invest in platforms, and elaborate on the best large language models, buy the best tools. They do whatever they want. And then they give this opportunity of AI to the business. But if the business does not run it, or not only run it, but execute and monetize of them, little the CIO, the CDO can do. Let me give you an example. We have seen quite some organizations where we have very strong tech communities, but very traditional business owners. Now, if you have a tech community creating a lot of cool tech tools, and you throw them at a very traditional business, two things might happen. They might not adopt it. We have seen a lot of very poor adoption curves. They have access, they play around with it, but they always fall back to do business as usual. So IT is pushing and is praying, use it. It's really helpful, but business is doing business as usual with that. The other thing is, we have seen also organizations where they went a step further, and the business started adopting. They really were using it. They were freeing up time. They got more productive, but business has not monetized on that. So if you make an organization be more productive, or you expect this organization to deliver more output, or you expect this organization to run at lower cost, whatever you want to do, but somehow it needs to lead to money, to EBIT. And the problem, and this is where my CDOs and CIO friends get frustrated, they cannot influence it. They can provide the technology, but they cannot change the process. They are not having the mandate to lay off people or to give them a higher target in terms of top line. So both the romantic optimist and the already frustrated pessimist, they're all having the same problem. Do I find friends in business? Do I find a business owner, a process owner who really wants to change the status quo by using AI and wants to make it measurable? And only if those two come together, we see success. I would go that far, and this is a provocative state, and I might step on many, many foots out there, but I would go that far, that if an AI program is solely owned by a CIO or CDO, by the tech community, it is more likely to fail than if it would be owned by the CFO or the head of sales or head of process, whatever. Yeah? It needs to be a strong collaboration of the tech and the non-tech community to make money. And it's often out of balance at the moment.
If I'm not wrong, this is the first of the first archetype that you make reference to in your talk. So if I'm not wrong, so if an AI project is considered to be just a CIO, CTO matter, let's say you start the project, as we say in Italy, with the wrong foot, basically. So you are not even starting it with the right let's say approach. Yeah. Okay. So Andrej, and maybe this is more in line with your background. If I'm not wrong, you started as a lawyer, but then you turned to the AI world. Or it might be that you already were working in the AI world when you were a lawyer. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. But
okay. I finished course 15 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. So when we talk about AI, it's simply impossible to not talk about the AI Act. So everywhere, but especially here in Europe. So what aspect of the regulation are currently driving the most efforts, work, and attention in the industry? Could you share maybe perhaps some real world implementation or specific challenges that you are in your daily work or your contacts seeing, experimenting?
Absolutely. So there was the early phase before the EU AI Act was fully formalized. There was this fear of what is going to be regulated, and there was some skepticism. When it came out, I felt it was a rather fair game for most of my clients, because the space where we see the biggest value creation is not the space which is the highest regulated red zone area of the EU AI Act. So the vast majority, the absolute vast majority, I mean like 90% probably, of value creation in the industry comes from the low regulated or the green areas of the EU AI Act, where the EU AI Act kind of then frames a control but doesn't really implicate it. So I would say the vast majority of value creation with AI in the industry is not heavily impacted by the EU AI Act. It gives a bit more confidence, it gives a bit framing. So we see number one effort for organization this stage is obviously first to understand the EU AI Act, first to understand where are the red, gray, and green zones, and then to ensure everybody in the organization gets a simple filter. Am I in a problematic area of my use case, with my tooling, with my process, or am I not? So just having this general process, compliance process in place already kind of gets you out of a lot of trouble. And then you, on the regulated stuff, where it comes to personal individual data, and this is depending on industry, but this is where obviously you decide then if you generally don't want to do it, or if you want to do it, how to play with the rules. But again, I would claim a significant majority of the value is coming from the easy part of the EU AI Act. When it comes to policy control of organizations, I'm much more worried at this stage, not about the regulatory boundaries. I'm much more worried about quality control. I feel that the organization should raise their bar in mandating and ensuring quality controls when it comes to AI. We have seen quite some large organizations which are using bought solution APIs to external models and are very lax, underinvested applying quality controls. Not just the basic ones about reducing hallucination, improving quality by a strong RAG pipeline, so training the model on your individual context information, but even ensuring corporate communication styles avoid gender bias and things like that. Yeah. So generally, I think organizations, if they want to really kind of take responsible AI very, very seriously, the EU AI Act is an important element, but I would say ensure you invest in quality control, quality policy, and quality governance, this will bring take you significantly more away from trouble than trying to play in the red area of the EU AI Act or something like that. Does it resonate?
Yeah. So to some extent, the AI is stress testing our law, our regulations, your regulation. So by definition, law always lags behind reality. Striving to regulate new models, new discoveries, emerging systems, and the impression that we definitely have is that the AI with this unprecedented its unprecedented pace, it's definitely stress testing the law. And I don't know if you agree, but at the moment it seems that the real answer to this stress testing is the new concept, of post compliance. Is it really the best answer that we can provide to this type of stress test? That is basically how fast the AI is evolving.
Absolutely. I'm sure you're absolutely right. Just given the speed of evolution we had, just if you think of the last 6 weeks in AI, it will be very, very tough for regulation to keep pace with that. So I'm not sure, like obviously then, like how can we even expect the regulator to know what's happening? Nobody knows what's happening in the next 6 months, 12 months. So they're trying to create a framework now, and the framework somehow need to be reasonable. The framework we are seeing, it need to ensure that we do not lose our competitive advantage or competitiveness to other global players in the world. So this is kind of, for me, the most important line. But if I look now in big DAX corporation, big European players, I think there's a huge need to adopt the European frameworks to ensure you are compliant. So this, I would even not debate. You might like it or might not like it, but just ensuring that you are compliant with what you do, which I think is not a magic to do. You just need to tick the box here and kind of ensure you are following the processes. We have seen, by the way, quite some AI programs at big corporations, which they already built a platform, they had the use cases in place, they had their funding, they were stopped because the EU AI framework was not in place or was in place improperly. So I think it's a real threat to not do it. But I think in terms of unlocking the big value, I do not see at the moment the European framework holding us back from really unlocking. I think we have more severe problems in the basics of adopting AI, which are not yet over-regulated or even regulated by the EU AI Act.
And this is something that you observe across industries. So it's not, let's say, industry specific or specific.
Maybe I'm a bit biased to the producing industry, goods industry, automotive industry, chemical industry. Like I totally see like an industry which has significant customer-facing information, health information, or financial regulated industries, where the EU AI Act plays a significant higher role. They would obviously kind of calibrate my statements. But if I look at the whole industry composition as such, the whole GDP potential we have with AI in the EU, the part which we can unlock in the low regulated area is significant. But I totally see that you're right. If you de-average it, for some players, it will be a very different mix.
And Andrej, considering your journey so far, it's, if I'm not wrong, at least 10 years that you work in this field across industries. So what key lessons should the insurance industry, where the actuarial profession is mainly working, what key lessons should the insurance industry take from the AI integration in other fields, in other industries, if any there are?
So I would kind of, and this brings us back to the original intro into this discussion, I would really kind of not try to create a radar, not to get hyped about everything you can do in AI. So many things, it's so many opportunities, it feels so loud. I would really go down to the processes I'm in and try to understand where would this technology really bring me money and EBIT. So where would I kind of have something? Would it speed up my work so I can serve more clients? Would it help me to reduce processing time so I would be creating competitive advantage in the market? I would go down and try to really come from value creation and not from the technology. I would not celebrate technology. I would celebrate where it creates value. And this is a very different approach of rethinking things, because a lot of our clients, also in insurance, they find a new technology, a new software, a new tool, and they want to apply it. I would really think of AI, how I look at my processes, how can I do process changes? And give me an example why this is so important. We have seen an insurance player where they, Normal can't obviously go too much in detail, but they have taken out the bought the license for a piece of AI software they were using integrated into the process, and they have proven a tremendous success of reducing part of the process to be faster, more efficient, and significantly time saving. And it looked like an amazing business case. However, they just created faster output and it ran to a bottleneck of another process step. So they were indeed fast on this process, but client facing, nobody realized that because just another bottleneck process was kind of creating a bigger bottleneck. So this pure view on use case, improving single process steps, this is not what I would recommend insurance companies to do. I would try to take a full process and rethink how human and machine together can do the same process faster, more accurate, and more value creating for the client. And then only then come down to the question, what is the software? What is the platform? What is the tech stack I need to get this done? So a bit turning around the discussion. And again, this is something tech community and not tech community jointly need to discuss, not only techies.
Going down from a company perspective to a more profession perspective, do you see? To be honest, I do see it. Do you see this? Darwinian selective pressure on professions. Given by the AI. So basically, who will learn to use it? Okay, maybe will have more success. Otherwise, you will lose. So do you see this pressure, this selective pressure? And in case, which adaptive strategy would you suggest? I don't know. Would you bet on the speed to adaptation, or I don't know, quality of adaptation? It might be that there is no choice. I don't know, between these two. I don't know. What do you think?
So first of all, it's highly debatable if there's a first mover advantage. So to your question of speed, because we see some of the companies who jumped on the train of AI very, very fast, 2023, 2024, they made some regrettable moves. They invested in technology, which they now are more or less stuck in, or they have a vendor login. So it is not sad that being the first mover is an particularly advantage in this stage of high uncertainty. Yeah. On the other hand, just those companies who are overwhelmed by everything happening, not doing anything, might also not be a safe bet, because we now already see 2 years, 3 years into game that these organizations who can create an organization to adopt to AI, who kind of create a more agile organization, two things happening. First of all, they now see the EBIT benefits. They're getting cheaper. They're getting cost competitive, they're getting faster. Also, what's seeing there on the recruiting market, it is much more attractive to go to an employer these days where you see they are planning or already adopting AI as part of the workforce. Because I'm not sure if you have saw our concept of the 4 ugliest hours. There's this we have as BCG that a workplace and job environment with AI is the cooler place to work. Because we believe that AI is mainly removing the ugliest tasks of a work week from your schedule. So if I think of what people love, they love doing creative work, they love doing focused work, they love doing collaborative work. And what people don't like is text-heavy administrative work. And Gen AI is the strongest on tasks you like the least. It's good that way. So I think, to your question, I think now 2 years, 3 years into the game where things are, by no means they're stable, but things are getting a bit more stabilized now. We have now found ways to ensure, even if you now buy a technology, how do you modularize your tech stack so you can change it every 6 months if things improve. So I think the big risk of vendor login and doing the right decision are manageable these days. So I think 2025 is a good year to take this really serious, to not be caught by surprise that your competitor are doing it already. So perfect balance, I'm not sure. Again, nobody knows. I can't look in the future, but I think 25 is a good year to take this serious.
Okay. And linking to the 4 ugliest hours that you referred to during your German American talk of last December, if I'm not wrong. In the same talk, you said that once you in the same talk you shared an example of a company that successfully implemented an AI system, saving about, if I'm not wrong, 10 hours or 5 hours. It doesn't matter. Let's say the exact number of hours per employee. And when you ask to what they did with those 10 hours, they respond nothing. They were quickly filled with tasks just like before. So basically, although they successfully implemented an AI project, they didn't manage to monetize it, And in another talk you had recently in the podcast, The Optimist podcast, you said that in your daily work, you managed to save some time with automating a newsletter work that you used to do. So the question that I would like to do is, did you manage to monetize this time that you saved, or let's say you quickly filled it again?
Yeah. So it's like maybe in my job as in your job, like if you have a workforce where time is a huge constraint. So if your workforce would have more time, would they be able to sell more? In my industry, this is certainly the case. If I would have a 48-hour week, I could do so much more. There's no limit. But I also need to accept the reality that there are jobs in corporate world where if you would finish earlier, your work would be done faster. It doesn't mean automatically that you could do more, or you are incentivized to do more. So I think on us, it's easy to make the case. So if AI, for me, everything I can do with AI, and it helps me to speed up my work life, I would try to do. Obviously, also many of our work-life balances are a bit stressed. So even if I would get an hour of more family time, it still would be a huge benefit, because I would get my life more sustained. So 1 hour or 4 hours gained on jobs where time is scarce is a huge, huge benefit. But also, we have seen organizations, this is the example I mentioned, where we freed significant amount of time, but people were using it just to have longer breaks. We have seen they were doing other stuff, which is also good. They had stuff to do, but it was significantly lower value add to the organization. So just freeing up time, and this is what the message is, if you want to really monetize it, you need to really take care of that. So the organizations I was referring to, they now, instead of just freeing up time and celebrating this as a success, they were more deliberate, new seriousness, they were more deliberate about what to do with this time. So, or you give this individual group a new task and you say, look, I know I have freed up 20% of your time. I want you to call 20 more customers a day. Or I want to process you 20 more applications a day. So you grow the expectation to output. Or you go about quality. You say, look, I freed up more time, so I want you to go deeper in your client discussions, whatever you do, and I want you to find cross-selling, upselling opportunities. Also path. Or you say, look, I want you this 20% time I want you to do something completely different, and you do a reorganization. And people do 80% of the time X, and 20% they get a new task. Also fair. Or, and this is also the reality in the industry, we are reducing the team size. We're saying we make the team 20% smaller. What I'm saying is the only thing I want myself and my clients and everybody to think of, if you use AI to increase productivity, do not believe productivity automatically equals EBIT. There's a path to go to make it something you can measure and you can see. And why I'm so not almost obsessed with this money thing, I'm just saying that because the skeptics are fueled by not seeing the money. There's so many examples of people having invested and not seeing the return. There's almost an obligation of us AI friends at the moment to prove the money, to make people invest more, to create more value. But if you do not kind of go this full path of value creation, people might not invest enough.
Okay, so going toward the end of the episode, during your these talks that I listened, you were basically telling a trend of companies that were experimenting, that were struggling, and in some cases monetizing. To some extent, you already made reference to that. But in 2025, you see a change in this trend. You think that there are definitely new, specific characteristics from in the industry or in the regulation that really can change, will be able to change this trend. So making really starting monetizing these efforts. Do you see anything objective that changed, or maybe it's just the experience that they gained? I don't know.
No, I think there's indeed a function of maturity and people getting more serious and more experienced about how to get it. I think one big element I mentioned before is to ensure that the business is equally involved. It's not just about the technology. It's not just throwing good tools over the fence and expecting then the money to come. So we see a significantly growing experience curve. But we also see that people now more and more understand what's working, what's not working. Like while 2 years ago, it all felt like a big AI and everything which is AI, you said that AI was just making everything more cooler a bit. People now realize there are things which are really kind of work and which worth going after, and there's stuff which are more nice to have. And people are more clear about raising those questions and those business cases early stages. Is it really like this tool will be just a nice to have, and I will be a bit better at writing my email? How does it lead to cash? How does it lead to impact? And this new seriousness, I think, is a very important ingredient to the trend of AI here in Europe. By the way, to be very clear, in the specific European context, people more or less, there's a bit of a pessimist frustration, I feel, that it feels like the Americans and in China, they are winning the AI race. So everybody kind of refers to OpenAI or DeepSeek or Grok 3, you name it, and it feels like all the big AI innovation is coming out of Europe or somewhere else. It might be true that we are not as a bit behind or significantly behind on the technical AI race. But to be very clear, the main race is not to create the technology only. The other main race is to run adoption and change the business processes. What a lot of people might not know is if you kind of look at the adoption of AI in American companies versus European companies, you do not see that American companies have adopted AI more than German companies. So even it's their technology, or there's a route to the US foundation of the technology, we do not see that they are significantly more adopting insurance companies, automotive companies, companies in the industrial world. We don't see them adopting more than German companies. So I think the whole spirit of creating a competitive advantage is still very open, and this is the motivating factor we see quite a lot being used in this industry today.
And I promise now we go really, this is the last one, we go toward the end. So this means that to make the 100 billion bet that Emmanuel Macron did on the EU AI project, you would point on business adoption. So which aspect will make this 100 billion bet successful in your opinion?
I'm not sure, because I don't know. But what I see at the moment is, would I bet all my money and trying to fight the technology race only? I wouldn't. I think just creating the next second best or first best large language model just to compete with the US might be a race. Investing into infrastructure and data centers might be a race, because you want to ensure a certain degree of European sovereignty. You don't want to be too much dependent on the US. I get that point totally. Yeah? So if we all get dependent of OpenAI, and they use OpenAI as a political weapon to kind of shut down Europe, we don't want this to happen. Totally get the point. But would I invest all my money only in the tech race? No. I would invest, and actually maybe I'm controversial, I would invest probably 80% or 70% of my money to get Europe ready to be able to adopt the technology which is out there. Because there might be a scenario that the tech side might become commodity. You might buy it from the US, you might buy it from China, you might buy it for Europe. But are you able to make money with this technology? It's an organizational question, it's a skill question, it's an infrastructure question, it's a path to adoption question. So I would think that it would be foolish to just put all my money on the tech side of things. I would ensure we at least, I would say 80%, others would say 50-50, whatever. I say we need to have a fair balance of focus and investment, and winning a race we're still good on. We're still good on, and in some statistics, Germany, for example, and France is even leading the adoption, and Europe, and as average, is leading the adoption compared to US and China. We should build on this strength of being able to change our business processes and not only rely on providing the strongest LLM.
We should be a little bit more self-confident, let's say, also
Absolutely.
in this.
We should.
Andrej, I thank you for your availability, for being our guest in this Actuarial Association of Europe podcast. And I wish to all our listeners a good remaining part of the day, and see you next time.
Claudio, thanks so much for having me.
This was the AAE Podcast. See you soon.